I'd also like you, if you're in the room, to just turn around and wave to one of the cameras to say hello to the 200 or so people who are watching online. Hello, people. Thank you very much. Hope to be taking questions from you too in a little while. Okay, so this is going to be a general overview of mobile and handheld learning, just to get some questions rolling and some thoughts rolling in your heads. But in order to get to the mobile learning bit, we have to go through a little bit of history. What I'm going to do is share a little bit of my history with you, and I'm going to ask you to share a little bit of your history with everyone else. Nothing personal, we're talking technology here. Okay, nobody wants to hear about your past relationship. Well, they may do, I don't know, perhaps they will. So, you won't be able to read this now because, of course, it's going like that all the time, which is a little bit unfortunate. Oh, it stopped. No, it started. So I want to tell you a little bit about my technology history, because to understand mobile and tablets, or to understand what's happening now in this day and age, we really need to understand what's happened up till now. So I'm going to just quickly go through my history, and then I'm going to ask you to talk with someone next to you about yours. So I got my I got access to my first computer in 1981. My school bought 2 Spectrum computers. Does anyone remember those? Excellent. My kind of people. Very small computer that had rubberized keys, and you plugged it into a TV. It didn't really do much, to be honest. Played chess, excellent. I used to play a thing called Lunar Landing, where you had to land a little spacecraft without crashing it. And it had a big 1 kilobyte of RAM. Very exciting days. My first games machine in 1984 was a Commodore. It was a big plastic box with coloured keys, red, green, yellow and blue. Stick your hand up if you remember. Excellent. Fantastic. They were great machines. The software came on cassettes. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah. And you would stick the cassette in, you'd press load on the computer and play on the cassette player, and you would listen for half an hour while it went. And you think, oh, I can't wait for this. My favourite game was a game called Boulder Dash. And after 28 minutes, I would always hear the, when the cassette failed, and I'd have to rewind it all and start again. They were good days. I got my first real computer in 1985. It was an Amstrad PCW8512. Whatever that, well, 512 was the 512K of memory. It was a green screen, and it had 2 disk drives on it. One disk drive was for the operating system, and one was for the word processor, because it was actually a typewriter, but a very expensive one. I got my first real computer in 1990s with DOS and Windows. It was a box about that high, with a monitor about that deep. It took 2 people to deliver it to my house. And it was so expensive that we got a free weekend in Mallorca for buying it. It cost me somewhere near £3,000, I seem to remember. And the guys delivered it, and I plugged it in, and half an hour later I deleted both DOS and Windows from the hard drive in a fit of not reading the 500-page manuals, and ended up with a large beige box, which my wife found slightly more disappointing than I did at the time. But it did come with 2 manuals. There was a blue manual, 500 pages for DOS, and a pink manual, 500 pages for Windows. And I did read them, because in those days you had to read those. There was no other option. Bit of a mobile thing there. I got my first mobile phone in 1994, a Nokia, which you'll remember those. You may even have one. Still one of the best phones ever made, and one of the best operating systems ever made in terms of ease of use. A fantastic bit of design. I got my first internet connection in 1995. I was living in Spain, in Barcelona at the time. It cost me almost $25 an hour to be connected at 9.8 kilobytes a second. And I used to watch pictures drawing themselves line by line on the screen until they got halfway down and then stopped drawing themselves because I'd been disconnected. Heady days. They were, and I didn't know what to do with it. Suddenly I had this internet connection. I could look things up on Yahoo. There were, I think, 250,000 web pages in the world in 1995. So I could have potentially looked at them all if I'd had a decent connection. And I had no one to write to. I had no friends online. I still have no friends, but that's a separate issue. I got my first laptop in 1998. I think I spent very much north of £2,500 on that, a Sony Vaio, which Actually worked better as a heater than it did as a laptop, but it's very good. 1999, my first broadband connection, 1 megabyte per second. That was, for me, that was a revelation. I didn't have to turn the internet off when I went to bed. Brilliant, brilliant moment. I still did, of course, because I was worried that I might be using the internet all night while I was asleep. But having instant access to things was a real shift change for me in the way I worked with technology. And then below that, we get into the whole mobile thing. And I think that's very indicative of what's happened in the last few years. The rate of change has been absolutely astronomical. So my first smartphone in 2005 was a Windows phone. So Windows and smart, they don't necessarily go together very well. Not a collocation that I would use very frequently. It was hard work, but it did stuff that I'd never been able to do before. You know, it had calendars and it reminded me about people's birthdays and things. Because I can actually remember about 3,000 passwords, but only about one birthday. So that was good for me. My first iPhone in 2007, Jeremy and I were talking about this earlier. That was one of those brilliant design moments too. An amazingly beautiful and usable piece of gadgetry, which I still think is really fantastic. I got my first Android phone in 2009. I don't get on with Android, I have to say, although I understand. Sorry. There are lots of good things about Android. I like the open source side of things. I like the fact that it's a very equitable playing field. But there are lots of bad things about Android. Primarily, it's very ugly, I think, which is a big... You say simple, I say ugly. It's, you know... we'll come back to Android. I got my first iPad in 2010. Anybody else got an iPad? I can see one there. 1, 2. Yeah. Again, one of those amazing transformational devices for me. Suddenly I was able to go traveling for work with a bag that didn't weigh 8 kilos. And that was lovely for me. And being able to, you'll notice I'm not doing that tonight because this is high pressure. There are 200 people in weird places in the world watching this, so I can't, you know, we can't afford to fail tonight, but I would normally do a presentation with an iPad because they're amazing things. And in 2012, I got my first Android tablet, and I do like the Android tablet. I think it's a very beautiful, beautiful thing, and much better technology in many ways than Apple puts into their devices, better cameras and things like that. So those are my personal landmarks, and you'll see that you know, there are high points and low points in there. What I'm going to ask you to do very, very quickly with the personal 2 or 3 people next to you, just for 2 minutes, is what are your landmarks over the last few years, technology-wise? So please feel free to say hello and have a chat. Okay, I'm just going to ask you to stop there. I mean, this is... You could probably go down the pub now and spend about 4 hours having this conversation because we all have a certain history with technology. Has anyone got any kind of good or bad things that they would like to share with the rest of us while we're here? We have a microphone, if you'd like to. Please feel free. Don't be shy. Indeed. Down here, please. There we go. There's a mic coming.
Well, my greatest achievement with technology as an ESOL teacher was making my first app.
You made an app?
Well, partly, yes.
You made a partly app?
Well, I had a lot of help.
Can you tell us a little bit about the app?
Yeah, I'm an ESOL teacher, and I just grew really frustrated with the numbers of young people underachieving in school.
Okay.
And was looking for sound and proven research that we could put on a mobile device to support young people, particularly at second level, who don't have adequate support at school. So I developed a bilingual app to simplify academic English for young people with language and literacy needs. Fantastic.
Thank you. And there's a real example of transformational technology, because 3 or 4 years ago that would have been impossible, I think. It's still probably impossible for lots of us, me included, but there's proof that it can be done. Thank you. Thanks very much. Is anybody else? Yes, you'd like to? Please, go ahead.
Hello there, we've got one from Twitter here.
From Twitter?
Yeah, Jessica Slater says she got the internet in the mid-90s and discovered Napster. Exciting times.
Ooh, yeah, I'm not sure we're supposed to comment on that in this kind of seminar, but let's just say that sharing became a very good and very easily achievable thing with the rise of broadband. Any other thoughts or experiences over the last few years? Please. We need a microphone. There's one coming. Just so the people outside the venue can capture.
The school I previously worked in, EF, have got a classroom app which allow you to use iPads in sync, so you can actually you can use authentic material as well as pre-produced material. So it was one of the things that kind of brought the computer into the classroom where you could get them to do research with authentic material, and it just sort of let the students have fun with technology as well as being very productive, which was quite useful.
Thank you. There's an interesting word in there, fun, because I think fun is much maligned in our business, really, and fun with a purpose, obviously. But fun is a good thing. This whole thing of using, I'm actually working with a school at the moment in Bournemouth in a project introducing class sets of iPads, or a class set. And being able to get content to and from those devices is a remarkable thing. And watching how creative people come with these devices is a remarkable thing. And I'll be coming back to that in a little while.